Welcome back to Till All Are Done, the show where we take a snapshot of one toy from every character in the Transformers universe. We are currently working on spotlighting the G1 Season 1 cast, and if you want to follow the series from the very beginning, check out the playlist linked in the description or click the card in the corner. But the best way to stay tuned for new episodes is to subscribe and see which figures I will showcase next. We've covered so many Autobots in a row that I bet you forgot about this guy. Reflector is actually made up of 3 smaller bots that combine to make up the iconic point-and-shoot camera. Pretty unique and certainly useful for recon. Like Soundwave, he can really put the Robots in Disguise moniker to good use, blending into the background and even on your shelf. He's taking pictures of you right now. If you just watched the show, you might not know that they actually have individual names: Spectro, Spyglass, and Viewfinder. And for the G1 toy, it's more apparent as every bot has their own design and color scheme. I still can't believe that toy was relegated to a mail-in. It's cool enough to be released on its own. It's awesome. Also awesome is the War for Cybertron Siege version, which we will cover today, but I have something I need to get off my chest, so let's get right into it right now.
Transformers!
Oh boy, rant time. Okay, so I wanted to be upfront with something before we get too far into the review, and people are like, JR, why you no camera? My original plan for this episode was to review 3 of these Siege Reflectors, Refractors, whatever, so that I could show off and review the camera mode as well. I got my first Refractor off a Facebook Marketplace seller for a cool 35 Canadian, which was a great deal. Pretty close to MSRP, so that's the sweet spot that I really try to go for. But then I started running into an issue. For months now, the next cheapest refractor I could find was $100. $100. And I needed 2 of them, so that's $200. That's ludicrous. The MSRP for this toy when it came out was 25 Canadian, so 4 times the price for each of these. That's wild, and on principle, I refuse to pay that much for the 2. Now, there are other options available like the Dramatic Capture set that just came out, which comes with 3 reflectors and a very high quality paint finish, but it also comes with an Earthrise Thundercracker that I don't want. Especially now when they've announced there's going to be a new 86 mold. Why would you dramatic capture this crusty, decrepit mold then? Stupid. Plus, the cost of getting this set to my house is not any more friendly. Then there is also the Siege Reconnaissance Pack, which has 3 reflectors that mimic the G1 era toys. This is a cool package because each of them have their own look, one different from another, plus there's extra pieces to go with it. The cheapest I was able to find that pack was $120 Canadian, which is about $40 each toy. That works out pretty great and all, but personally I don't have the same attachment to the G1 toys as I do the cartoon, and I really wanted the trio of purple ones. So I'm really bummed out that I couldn't get this stuff in time. I even delayed this episode for this purpose and still couldn't get it done. And I think there's probably a SS86 repaint in the pipeline that would make this a lot easier, but the show must go on. I am out of characters to cover for this episode. I'll transform what I have when we get to that part of the review and sadly use pictures. Maybe one day, Hasbro will get their shit together when it comes to this distribution and exclusivity nonsense. Anyways, let's get cracking. This might be a negative way to start this review, but think about it upside down. It's hard to get and sought after, not because you need 3 of them, but because the toy itself is pretty damn cool. If you're a fan of Reflector, all 5 of us, you have a great version of this character that has a lot more going on for it than past toys, as few of them as there are. The overall sculpt of the body is a silhouette of the original character, but there's much more of the War for Cybertron aesthetic coming through with the greebling and cybernetics running through the toy, plus the transparent plastic looking nice. The head looks more chiseled and robotic than the G1 counterpart, but it's still him. Same with the chest, which is a different shape, but it's still very nice with the greens coming through. That looks really nice. Head to toe, it's ultimately a less cartoon and more modernized version of our buddy Reflector. Wanna know how I can tell? Because he's got the little badge on the stomach. That's a nice touch, which gets even better when you take it off. You can recreate the G1 trio with the one of them having the badge in the chest, and then the other ones, you can peg them somewhere else or put them aside, and there you go. It's an arm and a leg for 3 of them currently, but there you go. The toy comes with 2 weapons that look pretty sweet and are pretty big in the hands of this character. The first one is an EMM Distortion Blaster according to TF Wiki, and it's in a weird shape, but it looks totally wicked. It could have used some more color, but it's neat looking enough to overlook that. Plus you have 2 extra pegs on the side of the gun so Reflector can shoot gangster style on both ways. Brrrr. Then you have the HPR Telefocal Shield for the other hand, and it's a very nice meaty looking shield that actually convinces me it's going to keep him safe. This also has more than 1 peg so you can hold it in different ways. You can also peg the shield and or the gun to the forearms as there's peg holes available, or you can peg it to the outside shoulders or to the set that's on his legs or even at the bottom of the feet. Some of you guys are super creative and you'll find uses for the feet ports for something useful, maybe blast effects. I don't have any. That's why you never see them in the video. Sometimes the glass on the shield gets in the way and the 5 Reflector fans know what that's for, but we'll get to that later, just hold your horses. But solid robot mode that I'm very happy with. This design modernizes the look, but definitely for the better. The dramatic capture version really does make this mode look even better and more accurate as they put those extra pieces from the Reconnaissance Pack into this one, and then you got that alluring paint finish. The dramatic capture set is really nice if you have the money to spend on it, but certainly for hardcore collectors. This is more of a budget-friendly channel, plus, like I said, getting this to my house, whoo boy. So I'm just doing some window shopping here. While we're at it, that Decepticon set looks nice, except the Skywarp. Screw that Earthrise mold. But the Insecticons look nice, don't they? Articulation for this Reflector toy is probably the best this character has ever had. Head is ball jointed and you can get 360 degrees with no nodding unfortunately, but the transformation joint will let the head tilt right back, which is great for the flight position, so that's really good. A lot of the Decepticons escaped using the flight position even though they don't have wings or jetpacks or anything like that. That's cheating. Shoulders rotate 360 degrees, and then you have a hinge not at the shoulder, but strangely at the bicep just underneath. It gives you the 90 degrees you really want, but just looks really awkward in that position. You still get a bicep swivel though, which is good, plus you have backward shoulder butterfly tilt thanks to the transformation. Then you have double jointed elbows that do give you the full 180 maximum. Sadly, no wrist rotation and they only bend downwards thanks to the transformation. Then we got a 360 waist rotation, pinned leg joints that let you stretch in all directions unimpeded, and then the knees go 90 degrees backwards. It feels like they should do more considering this empty cavity in the calves, but it doesn't collapse into there. There's actually a piece of plastic that prevents the knee joint from going in there, so maybe it's used for something else. Hint, hint. Lastly, the feet bend inward 90 degrees and you get 90 degrees of downward toe articulation, which is nice to see. One other thing that you could do is you could flip the waist around, which doesn't look too different from the other side, and then you'll get 90 degrees of articulation in the opposite direction for the feet. So for this character, definitely the best it's probably ever had. Strictly speaking about the War for Cybertron toy line, I think we've seen better and this is just okay. It's not the worst, but not the best when it comes to this line. But definitely for Reflector, really good, and you'll see how it's used later on. For this transformation, we're gonna stretch this guy out and turn him into a purple brick. Legs click together with the toes pointed down, but you know you did it right when there's a gap between the feet. Don't forget the little skis? What is this thing gonna be? What's it gonna turn into? You bring the chest plate down on its hinge and clip the green part in to prevent the toy from moving at the leg joints. Then the arms just butterfly to the back, tab in and become more skis, I guess. Then we make this thing look more like something. We clip in the shield to the back, making it look like a ship thruster. And there's the rifle that pegs at the very front of the alt mode into a space cannon. Now at least it gives me an idea of what this alt mode is, sort of. I appreciate them giving us an alt mode for the people like me who only have one and can't do the camera mode. But I'll be very honest, the first time I've transformed this thing is in this very review. I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be exactly. It looks like a space warship with the gun and shield attached to it. You better hope you don't lose the gun and shield for this thing, or it's just gonna look like a block of purple. It almost makes me think Hasbro tried to slip us a gun mode, and that's not Reflector's thing. That's Shockwave and Megatron shtick from back in the day. Honestly, this thing is a whatever mode, afterthought energy, and it's never getting put in this mode ever again after this. I can't really pick anything good to talk about it, so let's leave it at that and get to the actual good alt mode. So, all we have left is the camera mode, and we have Reflector turning from his robot mode to this. 1/3 of the camera, and the way they designed this is simple yet brilliant. It's an elegant design that has no kibble aside from those alt mode skis, but you can hardly notice them. Remember those gaps in the legs we saw before? Well, they completely conceal the arms, which is awesome. So you have the main part of the camera, and then you transform the other two the exact same way. They attach onto the main body, but backwards via some conveniently placed pegs and portholes on the sides of the toy. Then those little batch pieces become very important because they help to attach the combined camera lens and tripod to the toy. The third batch is the shutter button. Magnificent. The look of it is fantastic, and I'll bet it looks amazing on display. I would have completely given up on getting this figure and sold it if the camera mode wasn't so elegant. That's the perfect one-word descriptor for this mode. So the robot mode is really good, and the articulation is pretty good. The camera mode is brilliant with the way 3 of them combined together. Not that I'd know. I had to watch it on YouTube for that part. So on those fronts, the figure is great, but it has an alt mode for some reason, and it's bad. And then the transformation for this thing is bad. We could just pretend it doesn't exist, but then I would be a bit disingenuous. I think with all 3 to make the camera mode, this toy gets high remarks, but just 1 straight out of the package. This Siege Refraktor is a 3 out of 10 stars. I wish I could put it higher, but no. If we ask the question, is this thing worth the high prices it's currently going for? That's a hell no, especially needing 3 of them. If we end up getting an SS86 version and it brings the prices back down to MSRP, then my answer might be a soft to hell yes, but only if you're a fan of the character. All 5 of us. I'm leaving whether I ever collect this mold again into the hands of fate, and I'm not sure I'll even keep this one. It's the best Reflector toy we ever gotten, though I really want to experience it at its full potential. And if you have some money to shell out, the best package really is the Reconnaissance Pack for having all 3 of them in one package. But I really hope we do get an SS86 version and it levels the playing field. Another one in the can, that's all the characters in More Than Meets the Eye Part 1, so we can move on from this episode finally, right? Well, you might be surprised that the answer is no. But who haven't we covered? Who? I'll tell you in the next episode. So like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and there's this new hype feature. I don't know if my account can get hype points, but if it's there and you see it, lend me your hype so I can make the hype bomb. But until then, thank you for stopping by the JR Magnus channel, and peace out.